This episode of Taking It to the House was brought to you by EBH Fitness Studios. It's a way of life.
I'm Dr. C. Victor Urban III, and I'm taking it to the house.
And I'm Dr. Timothy Hoover, and I'm taking it to the house. Vic, we had a live NFL weekend, but to your point, you said earlier in the green room, we owe it to our fans to talk about our picks before the season. So we addressed the AFC division winners last week. Let's talk about the NFC before we talk about this weekend's outstanding show of week one of the NFL. So, sir, what's on your mind? I'll let you take the lead.
NFC East, this before seeing the product on the field. Of course, we spoke about this. We just get to air it last week. NFC East right now, it's between the NFC East and NFC North. I look at them as probably the weakest divisions in the NFC. On paper, the Dallas Cowboys are the most talented team in the NFC East. Heck, they're probably one of the most talented teams in the NFC, period. But if we know the Cowboys over the last 30 years, they're going to Cowboy. We just don't know when, we just don't know where, and we just don't know how. So those who are pro-Cowboy, look for the opportunity to watch the team go to the Super Bowl. Those who are anti-Cowboy, look for how Jerry Jones is going to wreck the car. With that being said, knowing that Washington football team is the defending NFC East champs, I'm going with the Dallas Cowboys to win the division. It'll be interesting. I look at them to win the division. It's a toss-up of what the Eagles will do. It's really a toss-up. Jalen Hurts is going to be the quarterback this next season. He looked great toward the end of last season. I can easily see them go second place, and then the Washington football team third place, and the Giants, I think they're still rebuilding. It's unfortunate for a player like Saquon Barkley, who's going to return in a couple weeks, for him to still play on a team that's probably not going to make it to the playoffs for some years. I just hate that they'd have to take some of his longevity, his youth away during some of this critical time. What do you think about the NFC East?
And I agree with your order. I picked the Dallas Cowboys as well. And to our fan base, we picked these guys last week. We didn't take into account what happened this last Sunday. So I do pick the Cowboys as well. And then I hear today, health is going to be the biggest issue. And then COVID, who's going to be impacted by COVID as we go through our picks. And maybe it's just the last man standing of who's less impacted by COVID and injuries. Wouldn't it be nice to think that it would be the best person, the best team that executed the X's and O's and the superior team? Wouldn't that be nice that who is the champion that's going to be overall? But injuries are a part of the game. COVID now, was it 2 years ago? Now is a part of the game. I bring up injuries because even though we pick the Cowboys for the NFC East, here today, DeMarcus Lawrence, today in practice, broke his foot. So he's out 6 to 8 weeks. That is significant. The Cowboys defense was already ragtag. You talk about last year when they lost Dak, they couldn't keep up with anybody because they were just like a sieve. Everybody was just scoring on them and they couldn't score. Their quarterback was out. So Dallas, Washington, Philly, and whoever else. Who else is in there? I can't even think who else is in there. But I to your point, I agree with your order of succession for that particular division.
NFC South, I got to give it back to Tampa Bay. They said they returned all 22 starters from last year. You can't go against the GOAT. It's his division to lose. Him, followed by New Orleans, with Jameis Winston behind the helm, Carolina Panthers, and then the Atlanta Falcons. I just don't know where the Falcons stand. But what I do know about Carolina Panthers, why I picked them number 3, they got a great running game. That dude McCaffrey is something special. They have a young quarterback in Sam Darnold, who has a chance for a resurgence and showing that the Jets was just a bad franchise. We'll see what he can do. So I really believe, and then they have a second-year coach there in Carolina. So I really think that they can do something, at least to be in the third place for them. And again, I think Atlanta is on that teeter-totter of a rebuild. They just let Julio Jones go. Obviously, they have some other good receivers, and then Matty Ice is, he's starting to descend. So I don't see much happening in that area for the NFC South.
Again, I agree with you. I was curious how Jameis Winston was going to do for the New Orleans Saints. And then this week, wow, 5 touchdowns. Unbelievable. Can he lead them to the playoffs? So it's hard to replace a Hall of Famer in Drew Brees. So I didn't pick them because they lost Drew Brees and Jameis was an unknown. Like you, I had Tampa Bay. Theirs to lose. I think they brought everybody back. Everybody back does this in this day and age of free agency. And so bringing everybody back is key. Another year together under Arian's system, who likes to throw it deep, throw it long, throw it often. You know what I mean? And so they have an outstanding receiving core. Their running back, they got issues at running back, but they don't have to necessarily be great at that position because of the receiving core that they have, and their defense is still A+. So Tampa Bay, New Orleans, I think Atlanta just can't get it right. They're in their own way. I still like Matty Ice. I still feel like he's a top tier quarterback, but he's immobile and maybe the game is passing him by, but he's still very efficient. Then you got everything else. There's no defense with Atlanta. So Sam Darnold's down there in Carolina. I like what I see with Sam Darnold. I still think a USC product, you know about him. I still think he's still developing and he still has that untapped potential. But when you mentioned McCaffrey, last year was COVID. He was injured, pretty much sat out. I call last year a wash. They will be heard from. And so where do they place? I place them probably third, Atlanta fourth in my picks, but Tampa Bay to lose, to your point.
NFC North, until someone, again, the defending champ of that division is the reigning NFL MVP, Aaron Rodgers. I have to default to Green Bay Packers. What else is in that division? Almost reminds me of the NFC East. What else is in that division? All right, Minnesota Vikings. Yeah, I can see the number 2. Chicago Bears is battle between Chicago Bears and Detroit Lions. Is who wants to finish last? So, I probably, rookie head coach for Detroit, but Detroit's been the perennial losers. Then you got Matt Nagy, who couldn't do much with the last 4 or 5 years with Chicago, but they're going to have their own quarterback controversy. So it's going to be very interesting. I'd give the nod to the Bears only because we've always seen what the Lions have done. But even then, I'm kind of still in the air if I could actually see the Lions with Jared Goff do something. So that's very hard to pick between those two. But I'll give the nod to the Bears for third place because you got a seasoned coach. And then I'm going to weigh on the side of the defense with Khalil Mack. And then fourth place, Detroit Lions.
Yeah, it's again, agreed. Green Bay, and then everybody else. I don't think anybody else is going to make the playoffs in that division. Green Bay, I do have to bring this first week of NFL games up because Green Bay peed all over themselves. If they had a Foley, it leaked, okay? They just messed the bed and mama is mad, okay? I don't know what happened to them this game 1. They talk about no energy. We learned a lesson. Aaron Rodgers, all off season. You're talking about divorce. You can find other things to do all off season. You would think that you would not be a distraction all off season, that you come into this game and light it up. Mr. MVP, Mr. Green Bay, Mr. Wisconsin himself, Jeopardy host, all off season. You're doing the doggone thing everywhere, wherever. And now when it comes to your main job, your claim to fame, the job that got you this fame where you are today, you are no show. MIA. Being a leader, and Vic, you can talk about leadership. Being a leader, people are going to follow and go as far as you go sometimes. They will use you as an example. So if you are distracted, if you are not making this job your priority, where is that other energy from? No, if I have to blame anybody on that first game performance, it will squarely land on the shoulders of Aaron Rodgers. Okay. And that's too bad. Yeah, you're the CEO, you're the lead dog, you're the Pied Piper, nobody's going to follow after you. Unfortunately, you led them to that loss last week. And if you happen to do this again and again and again, there's only so many bullets in the gun. You will find yourself outside looking into the playoffs. And fortunately, you got a weak division. You may be able to get away with that, but then the playoffs will come and you will be exposed, sir. So, yeah, you got 16 more games left. You need to get it together.
Now, the best division for this next year is the NFC West. I don't see a bad team at all in that division. Unfortunately, only one of those teams is not going to make to the playoffs. I to your point, between the NFC North and the NFC South, hell, even the NFC East, they'll probably get two teams in there. They're not going to have that many teams. NFC North is going to send one team, which is going to be division leader, and NFC South will probably send division leader, depending upon how Jameis does. Because 3 of those playoff positions come right out of the West. Uncle Jeff, this is for you. Los Angeles Rams takes first place.
Ooh. Okay.
San Francisco 49ers, second place.
We got family members that might be upset with you. We got some family that's going to be upset with you.
Third place got to go to Seattle because of Pete Carroll. And Russell Wilson has that longevity together. But their defense is in question. It's not the same Lena Boom it used to be years past. Fourth place, it's even hard to say the fourth place, Arizona. But that's, again, it's a hard division to choose from. But that's what I'll stick with. Steve, put it in ink, codify this, archive this. I'm going down with that Titanic ship. Los Angeles Rams, San Francisco 49ers, Seattle Seahawks, Arizona Cardinals. And the Arizona Cardinals will not be able to make it to the playoffs.
I just, one question before I give you my NFC West. You said the best division in football, even over the AFC East or the AFC North, the best division in football? Please clarify your point.
Best division in the NFC.
Okay. My bad. I misheard. Okay.
But thank you for, but if I said that, thank you for catching me. Best division in the NFC.
Okay.
But I would say the 2 best divisions in the league is right now NFC West and the AFC North. Those are the 2 best divisions, most competitive divisions.
Yes.
And the nod goes to, I would almost say that, y'all gonna say I'm flip-flopping worse than the politicians in DC. I would say the reason why I can say the NFC West is because all 4 of those teams had the potential to make the playoffs. 3 out of the 4 teams, AFC North does not. I don't see the Bengals making it to the playoffs. There's no other division that I could say everybody can make it to the playoffs. NFC West. AFC East, no. AFC South, definitely not. AFC West, Broncos still trying to work and find out who they are. So AFC North, Steelers, Ravens, Browns, Bengals are last man out. We already talked about how weak the NFC East is. We talked about the NFC South, and we talked about the NFC North. So NFC West, all 4 of those teams I can legitimately see them making it to the playoffs.
Thank you for giving me your points. I can't argue, and I won't argue with your picks in the division because I also had the Rams. Matt Stafford. I don't know how many years he spent up there in purgatory, that being in Detroit. They never got him anybody. Yeah, he had Megatron, and then they wouldn't put anybody around the 2. A stellar running back, a good edge rusher, a solid defense. Maybe it was coaching. I don't know because they kept flip-flopping coaches up there. But he will be the difference. I don't know if you saw his first game, how he just displayed his touch. Yeah, so the quarterbacks changed positions. Jared Goff went to Detroit. Stafford, he comes to LA. I actually think Goff is going to improve the chances for the Detroit Lions. I think he's still good, but he's not Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford is that quarterback. You give him the talent that he has. Look at those receivers down in LA. Look at the defense they have in LA. Look at the innovative coaching and plays that are being ran down in LA. They needed somebody like Matt Stafford who's not afraid to just sling it. Okay. And he will do just that. He will sling it. And he's not turnover prone. So if he just utilizes his skills to the maximum ability, the Rams should be the representative coming out of the NFC West, hands down. So I still like the 49ers, but they got injuries as well. Just had an injury. Mostert, their running back, stud, just got injured last year. You know how they got hit last year by the injury bug. Devastated, plus COVID. So Seattle and the 49ers could be second or third, and it's like splitting hairs. They're both so equal. I like their coaching. I like their personnel, their veteran leadership. And 49ers are going to have trouble if they don't decide on what they're going to do with the quarterback situation, because it's only one quarterback. There's only one position. And to me, you can't interchange. There's no slash. That doesn't work. The guys need a leader, one that they're going to follow, and that's going to be their guy. Unfortunately, Garoppolo, he tends to get hurt every year. So don't play. Get Trey Lance up there. Get started. Let's go. He has enough personnel up there, and he has a talent to go ahead and take the lead. Go. But choose one quarterback and then live with the results. So I'm not the coach. I don't call the plays. Matter of fact, my livelihood is not depending on whether they win or lose. I'm just a talking head right now. And I don't know if the 49ers have enough to take over the NFC West from the Rams, in my opinion.
So viewers, do record this as is, okay? Those are our picks prior to last weekend's game. Now let's get into these games. What did you think was the best time this weekend? Was the best, the worst? What did you think about it overall?
I was excited that we're back. Vic, what struck me the most was hearing crowd noise, hearing fans. Last year we had no fans, we had no crowd noise, and it made a difference to my viewership, because you could hear the piped in noise and fan and crowds and sometimes untimely claps. No, this was real stuff, and I think the crowd noise made a difference in the the AFC game between the Chiefs and the Browns. Browns they were kicking that tail for 4 quarters plus, almost 3.5 quarters. And then Mahomes showed up. He was just that tricky like that. So that game, I know I have Cleveland Browns winning the division. That's where you and I disagree. And they looked like for 3.5 quarters, that team that I picked. And then Mahomes showed up. Andy Reid showed up. The team showed up. And so the Mahomes and Kansas City Chiefs, that was one of the biggest surprises because of the crowd noise. The crowd brought them back. That was one of the biggest surprises. And one of my biggest takeaways from this first game was having crowd noise. Yeah, there are other teams that won on the road. You talk about Pittsburgh going to Buffalo, winning on the road, and other teams won on the road. But crowd noise. And the other thing, before I give it to you, sir, is Jameis Winston. I mentioned it earlier. I didn't see that coming. And so, having said that, is this what we can expect on a weekly basis? Is one of the questions that I have. I did pick him up as a second, one of my bench players for quarterback in fantasy, and I didn't play him, but wow, I got him in reserve just in case. So I'm glad to see him, and more importantly, hearing his humility in the post-game interview, how he deflected what he did and was talking about the city of New Orleans. And everybody knows Hurricane Ida went through New Orleans and Louisiana and the Gulf Coast, Mississippi, went all the way up to New York, and people are still displaced even today So I love to hear his post-game interview and his humility, and maybe he's growing up. And that's all I want to see. Black man, given everything, God-given talent, using your ability to the utmost, but giving him, God, the glory, but using your talents to the fullest. What are your takeaways? What did you take away from this this first weekend, sir?
Just to build on that last point regarding Jameis Winston, I think you see the value of studying behind the Hall of Fame quarterback. There's no doubt Jameis had the talent. He's the top pick coming out of the draft. But to stay and study behind Drew Brees, how amazing was that? And then you get to see the display of what that 1 year internship that he had with a proven professional. So I thought that was awesome just to watch him do that. And I really liked your point. Crowd noise. Who would have thought? Who would have thought how significant the 12th man is?
Yeah.
When we lost crowd noise last year, did we really appreciate the quality of the game? You can definitely tell the difference of a game when you have crowd noise. One thing I could say I took away, the way I normally watch a football game, I normally concentrate on watching the quarterback and I'm following the ball. I do watch the defense a little bit, but I normally just watch the quarterback and how the ball is moving down the field. I will tell you, I very rarely watch what's happening in the trenches. This time, I watched the trenches and I learned who was Chandler Jones going up against and embarrassing that dude. That was crazy. Then I learned about Max Crosby, beat my boy Villanueva. So to see that part, I started studying and watching linemen and defensive ends go at it. Those dudes are the real deal. But was this, again, nasty is when these dudes, you know it's going to be a bad day. When he comes through there, even if he's not hitting the quarterback, but that pressure, and you seen this guy get beat left, right, first down, second down, third down, you just know he can't wait till the series is over and say, man, it's going to be a long day. So to watch that part of football that I really never really concentrated until you start watching what is happening. How do you guys keep getting in the backfield? Those dudes were quick. Those D ends were quick, yes. But what's very embarrassing to see those tackles not handle their job. That was so embarrassing to watch, but also exciting as a fan where I very rarely watch what happens on the line until I had to concentrate on what's going on here. So I thought that was something. The other point, I know it's 17 games, and I know there was 3 preseason games. Did most of the teams know that was not a preseason game? That was not the 4th preseason game. That was week 1 of the NFL season, of the regular season. So some teams like Green Bay Packers came out as if they felt that, oh, I'm only going to play the starters for 1 or 2 series. Dude, the game started. The season has started. How does Aaron Rodgers come out there and look like he was straight shook? I mean, did they even get over the other side of the 50? 3 points? And you had all this moxie in the offseason? You should have came out there saying, I'd be damned if Jordan Love is going to get my spot right now. I'm going out on the blade of glory, and I'm going out on my terms, and I'm taking us to the show. He keep playing like that, they will sit his behind down to do a midseason trade. So that was wow. So that was something that, again, Aaron Rodgers, the Packers, and many other teams that we picked to do something, feel that this was the 4th preseason game and forgot that was the first regular season game. Overall, I thought great weekend. Yes, I'm still wearing my Baltimore Ravens hat. Again, I talked about how Villanueva got exposed. But man, that crowd noise, again, to your point, watching the nature of that back and forth, that Monday Night Football game between those two teams, but the crowd, how insane it got there in Vegas. I mean, I felt I was there. I mean, that's so invigorating and charging. So I could only imagine the players who had to play against each other with empty stands last year, how that had to feel when they're in a huddle saying, hey guys, we got to will this team to win. We have a chance to win this. And knowing that you got your 12th man, you really see the 12th man, that was great TV. That was great to see. It was sad that my team lost, but considering the way we went into that game, yeah, we can debate. They lost that game. they lost it. They lost that game, and the Raiders did what they had to do. But again, crowd noise, watching offensive linemen get the brakes beat off of them. That was some pretty exciting stuff to watch this last weekend.
Yeah. Speaking of your Ravens on that Monday night game, I was very pleased with the running backs that they did have. And they spoke on, they did an interview with him and talked about, this is my time to step up, my time to step up. And he did step up. He had a nice little run and he was quick as all get up. So you have to plug and play. Here's where I'm disappointed in Lamar Jackson or the coaching staff or the play caller, whoever the OC is over there for the Ravens. Yes, I have him on fantasy. I'm a fan and I'm a critic. Lamar Jackson is a playmaker. He's not just a sit back in the court, in the pocket and sling it. He's not that guy. He's a playmaker. So either somebody's in his head or the way they're calling the plays doesn't allow him to make. I can see him right now, the way he played on Monday. I can see Trent Dilfer doing what he's doing. No exceptional plays. He could slide in the pocket because he's quick like that. I'm talking about Lamar is quick like that. But I don't want him to be a game manager. I want him to be, he's the best player on the offense. Run, design runs, play. He's faster than probably the fastest guys that are out there. I know Hollywood Brown is out there and he's pretty quick like that, but Lamar is elusive. So I was disappointed in either the coach, the OC, or Lamar. Somebody's in his head and say, you get back into the pocket and you just find your man, survey the land, and hit your check down if you need to. No, Lamar, get busy. Play the game. Make a play. Those 2 fumbles that you had? No. You don't do that. You are that dude, and you cost him the game. But now I need to get in your head. I need to find out what's going on. Yes, it's 1 game out of 17. No, but we got to treat every game like it's the Super Bowl or build up to the Super Bowl. I need Lamar to be the playmaker, be that guy. I'm sorry.
Oh, you on fire. I'm trying to figure out who's the Ravens fan. Because I mean, I know he stays on your fantasy team, but dang, dog, he left no man standing, scorched earth. God, no. What's that red nuclear button? I'll say I like what they're trying to evolve. I just don't want him to play too tentative, and he seemed like he played very apprehensive at times. There are some times where he could have legitimately ran, and he opted to stay. So to your point, I want him to play free. I love that he's got a great arm. It's underestimated. However, I don't want him to default so back to an arm where he forgets that, look, they open up the lane for you to run. But I want him to show that he can be a passer, so then that they stop stacking the line and it opens up more lanes. So he has to prove himself as a passer. But when they do that and they are protecting against the pass, then run. There are so many lanes out there. But I will not blame it all on him. Yes, he had the 2 fumbles. Again, Villanueva was giving up the tail that you would think you were downtown Chicago, Illinois on 34th Street King. He was giving it up. I mean, I don't know how much he had to pay, but Max Crosby was eating him for lunch, straight up. So I'm going to blame that. There's some missed blocks. But of all things, man, I'm going to tell you, defense failed. How do you have a 14-0 lead and let the Raiders of all people come back? And then within less than a minute, you let this is what we're a bedrock on defense. We already know offense is hurt. They're mangled. We have a chance to limp out of this stadium on a away game with the win. So we have a 14-0 lead and let them come back. We now in the 4th quarter scored. We kicked the field goal, have the lead. And you let them come down and get in position to kick the field goal, to tie it, to send it into OT. And then that same defense in OT allows them to march down and make Derek Carr look like Peyton Manning, throwing it all over the place. Come on, man. And we got lucky when the Raiders did what Raiders do. You're on a goal line and you have a false start. So you go from 1st down and 1 to now 4th and 15, and you throw the interception, what have you. So now you get the ball back, and yes, Lamar fumbles, but because Villanueva gave up the tail again. So defense. Ray Lewis once said, all we need is a quarterback to get us 14 points. We'll take care of the rest. We had 14-0 lead on Monday Night Football against the Raider team who was trying to be competitive in the West. I'm not going to let the offense totally off the hook, but you still our offense put up 27 points, man. 27 points. And that means the defense gave up the field goal in the last couple minutes, plus the touchdown in OT, that's 10 points, plus a lot of other things they did. I'm not going to put it all on Lamar because he did what he had to do with what he had.
Okay.
And he was trying to make things happen. Defense failed us. No reason why that should have happened like that.
Okay. All right. You give him a pass, and you're the resident Ravens fan. I'm going to give him a pass too. The defense did let him down too. You're right about that. So, okay, I'll go with you on that one. We're towards the end of the show.
Like you said, I ain't going to excuse him. Yeah, I ain't going to excuse him. Now, he has got to work that ball security. Lamar got to work ball security because still you want to be an elite quarterback. If Patrick Mahomes got that ball like that, if Tom Brady gets that ball, Aaron Rodgers, the real Aaron Rodgers, please stand up. Look, they're not making that mistake. So if Lamar wants to be the dude, you were an MVP. Be the dude. Come on, man. There was 3 fumbles.
Come on.
2 of which were turned over to the other team. So if you're going to be that dude, be the dude. But so I'm not going to let him get off the hook. But defense lost that game.
It doesn't get easier for them this week, man. They got KC this week. And that would be like my game of the week. Call it. What say you?
Man, we can't afford to lose that game. But looking at what happened against the Raiders, I'm going to be a realist. Y'all know I'm fanboy Vic all day. But man, I'm gonna be an NFL fan right now. Kansas City Chiefs gonna take care of business. Last week, Kansas City got that wake-up call. No one's scared of them anymore. Cleveland Browns is coming to play. And Cleveland Browns brought everything they could except for learning how to close out a game. That comes down to their youth. The Ravens and the Kansas City Chiefs have had their number for the last 3 years. It's always going to be this Mahomes versus Jackson thing, just like Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning. And right now, I got to give it to KC. They are the defending AFC champs. Yes, it's going to be in Baltimore, but again, we still go back down to the running back. How's Villanueva? Okay. How's the defense? There's a lot of weaknesses that were exposed this last Monday. And so it's going to be unfortunate if they lose to be 0-2. It goes back to your pick last week, man. If we go 0-2, then the Browns better lose, so they'd be 0-2. I refuse to say we're going to be third place in the doggone division.
I'm watching that, but I think the Chiefs are still vulnerable. I don't know if it's a 2-year drinking the wine, smelling the Kool-Aid, the Super Bowl drunkenness. They're still as much talent as they have, especially on the offensive end. They're playing cat and mouse, and to me, in this professional game of football, it's you're playing with fire. I expect them to win, but they need to play, to me, start to finish, and not just play when that light switch goes off or when they feel like it. So they'll beat the Ravens, and it's on the road for Kansas City. It'll be in Baltimore. So I think the Chiefs will win that game. Let's you and I next week. Now we got our division picks. I want you to tell me who's coming out of the AFC next week, sir. I will do the same. Who's coming out of the NFC? We will both do that. Who's representing each conference in the Super Bowl? Who's your Super Bowl picks? I'm not saying who's going to win. And if you're that bold, if you're feeling like that, Uganda. If you're feeling like that, you go ahead and make your Super Bowl pick. But let's next week just follow up with our picks, solidify them of those division winners. Who's going to represent each conference going to the Super Bowl? I think our fans deserve it. And then we want to put this indelible ink down so we will be able to say how good or bad we are and compare ourselves to the talking heads that are in the national media. I find that kind of fun. I want to say thank you to our loyal fans for watching us again for another episode of Taking It to the House. We enjoyed ourselves. We're having a good time chopping it up. I want you to imagine when you're sitting with us that we're sitting around the barbecue pit. We're playing dominoes. We're at the barber shop. We're just at a group family outing and we're just talking sports. That's what we're doing today with you. Thank you for listening to us. And we'll see you next week on Taking It to the House.
Fans, as always, it's been great. Time went by extremely fast. Hey, week 1 has come and has gone. Week 2 is coming. These next 17 weeks are going to go by extremely fast. We're going to have so much fun. Look, hit us up on Twitter. Hit us up on Facebook. Hey, you know, we got our podcast. We're on Sirius. We're on Spotify. We're out there. So just holler at us. We had a great time again. See you next week. Take care and be safe.
Mm-hmm.